Welcome to Home Yogi Source podcast, where we talk all things practice, and practice is a way of life. I'm here today with Belle Prudhomme. Is that how you pronounce your last name? Excellent.
Yes, Prudhomme, yes.
Welcome, Belle. Belle
Thank
is
you.
the owner of Cosmic Light Wellness, LLC. And she says that she believes there's a cosmic light within all beings. And it has become her passion to help others uncover this light within them through her many ways of service. She's been practicing yoga since 2009 and became certified as a yoga instructor in 2012 and 13, completing both 200 and 300 levels, and completing a Yin certification in 2015. Her practice has evolved quite a bit over the years, having had a pregnancy loss in 2016, a baby in 2019, and various life changes with family health over the past 5 years. She enjoys taking yoga off the mat and into everyday life as often as possible, through her role as a parent and a partner, and into her work with nutrition and fertility clients. Her specialized focus involves guiding clients towards understanding their own unique needs and formulating beneficial nutrition and lifestyle changes to enhance their overall well-being through the avenues of yoga, body awareness, breath work, and meditation. Integrating individualized nutrition counseling, fertility counseling, digestion, and microbiome support on the basis of simple Ayurvedic principles and practices to amplify mind, body, and spirit. She supports her clients by supplying them with tools, resources, and mindset practices that allow them to thrive in their daily lives and along their health journey. It is with great pleasure to help others discover the divine cosmic light that lies within. Develop practices that allow this light to glow and shine brightly and nurture the body-mind connection the way nature intended. And it is my delight to welcome you, Belle.
Thank you so much. I'm so happy to be here with you today.
Likewise. And I'm excited to introduce the listeners to the podcast and the Badlands Yoga community to you as a yoga teacher, because you are going to start teaching a Yin class at Badlands Yoga soon,
So
right?
excited. Very excited. Yes, in July.
I'm excited too. So you got certified to teach Yin pretty quickly after you got certified for your other certifications. So it must be pretty important to you.
Yes, I did. Yin has definitely a special place in my heart. It is such a different practice than your sort of traditional sun salutation and, very sort of heating, if you will, like an Ashtanga practice or something like that. And I find it just goes somewhere into my body with the Yin. It's so complementary to the other aspects of yoga practice. It's lovely. It's such a nice way to incorporate some deep stretching into your day, into my day.
Absolutely. Well, I'm excited to have you teaching that at Badlands Yoga soon.
Thank you.
And that's why I invited you onto the podcast, because I also think we have similar values in terms of personal practice, both as teachers and as practitioners.
Yes.
When would you say you first had your first home yoga practice? Do you remember it?
I think it was after I really dove in deep into the teacher certification. Shortly after that, when I was and becoming certified, I really dove in deep and started practicing more on my own daily. And, I had done group classes before. I had done, basically inconsistent yoga for a long time, for probably a good 10 years prior to that. However, I had never um, really solidified, like had a solidified practice until I started the teacher training program. So completing the 200-hour and then shortly after that, the 300-hour is really when I started to create my own solid practice for myself. And of course, it's evolved since then. I didn't practice for a long time after I had my pregnancy loss. For example, I
Mm.
just didn't feel very good in my body. I was a little bit depressed and I had, you know, just various things going on, thing to dive into deeper, but I was not physically really able to commit to it at that time. It slowly picked up again.
Mhm.
And since having my son, he just turned 5, it has definitely kept evolving. I will say I used to practice yoga while he napped. That was like my yoga time. But he has since stopped napping. So I would say not even quite a year. It's been about 8 months since he's like stopped. So my yoga practice has again evolved. And so now it's more morning for a short time and now evening. I do like a yin practice in the evenings.
Oh, cool. Very cool. So I thank you for sharing your that the journey with pregnancy loss. I think that
Yes.
it's a huge part of some women's stories, and it's a part of all of our lives, whether we know it or not, because we know a woman. If it's not us,
Yep.
or if the listener is not female, you
Somebody
know,
else.
yeah, a woman who's gone through this. And it's
Yes.
also it's such a iconic in our an archetypical grief event, right? It's a
Yes.
loss event, and everybody, I think, can relate to a loss event. And I think that having had a yoga practice going up to some sort of life change like that can be so supportive, even when, because I during my periods of pregnancy loss, I would often I I would lead up to it with a yoga practice that you might look at and go like, oh yeah, that person is practicing yoga.
Hmm.
And then in those first weeks, and for the first one in particular, much longer, it didn't look anything. If you would have seen me, I would be on my mat, but if you would have seen me, you wouldn't have been like, oh yeah, that person's doing yoga. You would have
Right.
said, oh, that person is suffering. That
Yeah.
person's journaling. That person is resting. But I
Hmm.
guess that's one of the things that I think, and whether or not you do it on a yoga mat, right?
Oh, absolutely.
Those are all part of having a yoga practice.
It is. And taking yoga off the mat is, like I had mentioned in my bio, it's such a
Mhm.
big piece of practicing yoga. It doesn't have to just be sun salutations and back bends and, standing poses. It's so much more than that. Um, it's teaching us how to ground ourselves in times of need. Um, and like I said earlier, weekly into a yoga practice after that loss, um, I it probably would have benefited me quite a bit. It took me a good 6 months to really come back and circle fully back around to practicing again. Um, I don't know. I didn't really trust my body. I was really feeling uncomfortable in my body, and
Mhm.
I don't know. Not quite upset with my body, but just uh, not understanding what had happened. There was no explanation they could give me for why my baby had passed, and this was a pretty lengthy time. So I was 26 weeks into my pregnancy. So
Mhm.
um, yeah, I really just didn't trust my body at that time. It was incredibly painful and just devastating. And so it took me, like I said, 6 months to really come around again.
Of course.
Um, and then I felt good again. It was to come back to the peaceful parts, and really almost circle back around to, you know, asking myself, well, what is keeping me from this? Is it fear or is it something deeper than that, right? And the something deeper took over, and I just said, well, I just need to do this again. And it did benefit me. You know, I came back to it, and it was almost stronger than ever at that point.
I think that
And then I
it's,
had a baby. Of course, you know, it evolves.
yeah, yeah. Well, and so another theme that runs through that is trust in our bodies, right? And there's so many times during the course of a life, I think, where people can lose trust, right?
Right.
Some folks don't have it coming into adulthood for a number of reasons, and there are illnesses and
Yes.
traumas and injuries, right? For some, for me, when I was 16, and the birth defect that I was born with caused my first knee injury.
Mhm.
At 16, the fact that I couldn't run felt like the biggest affront in the world,
Right. Right.
right? And so it has to do with where you are in life, and like, how did this integral part of me become so separate from what I think of myself as? How do you
Totally.
how do you think yoga helps us to sort of knit that bond back together of trust with our bodies?
It's such a good question. You know, I really think that the consistency is one way. However, it's like, how can I improve myself through this practice without looking in the rearview mirror, right? It's like bringing the focus back to present moment, not even future. I mean, it's so embedded in just what's happening right now. We're not worrying about what's happened before. We're not worrying about what's happening in the future. We are so embedded in our mindset and our mindfulness of what is happening. That is the trust, right? You're putting 100% of your trust in your own body, not worrying about past or future things, right? It's just right now, this breath, this pose, whatever it is. Um, yeah, I think that's what knits it together, honestly. It's such a
Yeah.
beautiful, grounded way to meet yourself where you are.
I think that you've really gone to the heart of the matter with that answer, because the you're right, consistency builds trust, but in order to get the consistency, there's this relationship, right? Chicken and egg,
Right.
or spiral between
Yeah.
consistency and trust. But every time we are on the mat, whether it's in a lead practice or a home practice, we're we're continually brought back by the forms, right? In karate, they call them
Mhm.
forms. Um, and
Right.
in yoga, our forms are embodied shapes for breathing.
Right.
And that is such a present moment experience that doesn't mean, of course, we know this, our listeners know this. You can definitely plan your grocery list or what you're having for lunch in a yoga pose, and it draws you back. It draws you into the awareness that, right, I am planning my lunch. And then you're right back in the
Totally.
present moment, right? And I think that's the beauty of it. What do you think? I meet a lot of people who say that they started their home yoga practice as part of a teacher training, which is beautiful.
Hmm.
And it really is fundamental, I think, to teaching. But what do you think about facilitating the skills for practicing yoga independently for beginners or what people call intermediate? And I mean, there's a lot of overlap there, right? But for
Right.
people who aren't teachers.
So for people who love to practice, it's really honoring, first and foremost, I think honoring the seasons is probably the first place to start. Um, I have a little bit of background. It would be such a core place to begin any practice is, well, how am I feeling and what is the weather like? What is the weather doing? Because I don't want to heat up if it's already hot outside, right? I don't want to cool down if it's
Mhm.
already cool or freezing outside. Um, so honoring the seasons, I think, is a big part of it. But also, picking yourself up, giving yourself some coaxing if you fall off. It's not a one and done type of thing ever. Giving yourself some grace, like it is okay to not practice sometimes. It really is. And being hard on yourself is almost counterproductive, right? And I see this a lot in like the workout, like the gym community, where it's like hard, 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 push, 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 no pain, no gain. I I really think that where if your body is showing you pain and it's such a signal to just do less, and that is okay. It is okay to do less. Like in yoga poses and yin specifically, because there's long holds, I often say to find your Goldilocks place. So it's like, the story of Goldilocks, right? We want to find a place in our pose where we can hold and be able to breathe without pushing ourselves beyond in, or nor rather, we don't want to be doing too little. We want to be able to open up the body in a way where it's giving ourselves something to look forward to open up into. Um, and it's finding that bowl of porridge that's just right. It's not too cold, it's not too hot. It's just right. It's that Goldilocks place. And so key
And that's
advice to start their own practice, yeah, is to be gentle with yourself, essentially.
I love that. And I think it's so crucial. And even that there's this pretty hardcore weightlifter that I follow. And
Hmm.
I was watching a video of his the other day, and he's an older dog like myself, and he it was an injury prevention talk, and he says, hey, one of the ways that
Hmm.
you prevent injury is when your knee hurts, you stop doing squats. Right.
What a
And if it
concept,
hurts
right?
when you go all the way down, you don't go that far.
Right, right. Totally. Oh, well, I like this guy already.
Right.
Yes. Yes, don't go into pain. I mean, pain is our body's response to stop, stop doing that. Um, yeah, take care of ourselves
Yeah. Well,
for
and
sure.
finding the Goldilocks place requires that we're sort of tuning in to our experience, right? So it that in and of itself is a mindfulness practice.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah,
Yeah.
I agree.
Yeah. We believe it or not are coming up on our time, and I want to
Okay.
make sure that we talk a little bit about what is a yin pose that you think people could start to incorporate in a home yoga practice without too much coaching.
That is such a great question. If your knees allow, I'm gonna give two, just because
Yeah.
one is sort of knee-ish and one is not. I think wide knee child's pose is like one of the easiest and best, best things you can long hold. And in yin, we want to hold anywhere between 3 to 5 minutes. I often have a timer. Like I don't usually like to have my phone nearby, but for yin poses, I think it's nice because I want to be equal. I want to have some evenness between my sides. Um, and that's just a personal preference. If, some often people will just say, I'm done, and you can tap out whenever you feel like you're done. Um, but wide knee child's pose, if you have a blanket to put under your chest, and really arms can go forward and over your head, or they can come back by your sides. It's really what is best for your shoulders, but it is such a nice surrendering pose. Um, I could probably stay in child's pose longer than 5 minutes. But I think a 3 to 5 minute hold for a child's pose with wide knees. So big toes come together, knees go wide. On an exhale, belly comes down. And like I said, either arms go forward. What I will say is about halfway through, you would turn your head. So it would start on one ear down to the pillow or bolster or rolled up blanket, and halfway through on an exhale, you would switch just so your neck can have ample, twist as well and stretch as well. The second pose is one that I love so dearly. It's banana pose, where you're lying on your face with your body. Um, Arms will come overhead. So if you're stretching the right, I like to stretch my right side first. So heels would go off to the left side of your mat. You're lying on your back. Right heel will cross over, or sorry, right ankle would cross over the left ankle. You would shimmy your shoulders off to the left, reach your right arm up, catch your right wrist with your left hand, and then begin to turn your head so that you're looking up and a little bit over. Oh, and straight. Yes. There she goes. Yes. And so this is such a wonderful pose. And it's actually really easy to hold for 3 to 5 minutes. What I love about banana pose is that you can really feel all the muscles of your that are involved in the active breathing in banana pose. And it really does stretch the entire side body from the edge of your ankle up towards the wrist.
Hmm.
Yeah, thank you for that demonstration. Um,
You're welcome.
yeah, it's such a great way to really open up the sides of the body, um, and stimulate just, the edges of your body. So
Yes. And we could do a quick demo of the child's pose that you were talking about.
yes,
And I
please do.
often, I don't know about you, but I often hear, particularly from beginning yogis, that, and this was actually my experience when I was a beginning yogi, that it's a really
Mhm,
difficult place to be. And I think that that's
mhm.
true if like low back, knees, if the
Yes,
upper
knees.
legs are tight.
Right.
And so Belle mentioned a bolster this. And so wide knees, toes together. And then you can come forward and tuck
Mhm.
your hands in. You could be here, here. Sometimes I even like my hands back,
Yes.
almost reaching for the heels.
Ooh, I
And
like
then
that.
this is one that you can grow with, right? Or change with,
Yes.
because you can gradually come down. And then I don't know about you. What do you think about forehead on the ground?
I
If you're
think
in a
it's
place,
wonderful. Yeah,
yeah,
if you can make your way down, I think it's great. I really do.
but I guess that one's hard for people too, huh?
It can be hard. I think you is a place to begin because it gives more support. It's, anytime you're bringing in props, which often in yin we bring in a lot of prop work, we're really just bringing the floor up to meet you so that surrender can happen more easily.
I love it. I love it. And I could talk to you forever. You have
Yes.
a couple of offerings that are going to come up in the next few months. Would you like, do you want me to
Yes.
outline those, or would you like to talk about them?
I can share them. That would be fine. So yes, coming up in mid-July, I think we're gonna start in mid-July. I'm doing a group of really whoever wants to join. It's a free group. Um, we are going to be reading Alexander L's book. She has a number of wonderful journal prompts in her book, and I just thought how much fun it would be to do it as a group, to do it all together with a bunch of other people. And you can either share or not share. You know, it's totally up to you how much you want to participate. But journaling is such an incredible practice, sort of gets whatever's in your mind just out on paper. um, and
Would you repeat the name of the book? I
and
think we
is
missed
a way
that.
to suggest things that we're not. Oh, I'm sorry. The whole thing?
No, would you just repeat the name of the book?
Oh, I'm sorry. So her book is called How We Heal, and her name is Alexander L. Or Alex L. And she's a wonderful, wonderful author. She has another book called After the Rain. Um, but we're going to be doing her journal prompts together and reading the book as a group. So sort of like a little mini book club.
Yeah.
Virtually a virtual book club with the journal portion mixed in. So my
I
other
love it.
offering that I'm working on is because I'm a nutrition counselor and my focus is functional nutrition and fertility nutrition, or perinatal nutrition, which encompasses pretty much the entire window of perinatal health from fertility and preconception through pregnancy and into postpartum. A course for anyone who's in the season of becoming pregnant, or if you know somebody who wants to become pregnant. My course for this pregnancy preparation, essentially is what it is called Cook to Conceive. And so that will be launching in the fall.
Excellent. And will either one or both of these be online offerings, in person, or hybrid?
So online, just so I can reach people beyond our small town here. And I will have links to that on my website. They are coming. It is sort of to be determined. So it's not up and live yet, but they are in the works
I'm
for
so
future.
excited for you get to start these things.
Thank you.
And so once again, her website is cosmiclightwellness.com,
Yes. Yes.
spelled just like it sounds. And it'll be in the description box
That
below.
sounds.
I hope that we can have more of these conversations in the future. It was a delight
Please.
to have you here today. And happy Yoga Day.
Happy Yoga Day to you. Thank you so much for having me. Talk
Thanks.
soon.
Yes, take care.